What's up, shufflers? I want you to do something for me real quick. Just imagine you're on your way to a nice vacation, you're in a nice little plane, and then everything just goes wrong. The airplane hit into some birds and now it's crashing, and you end up surviving the crash. But you only had 3 decks that you brought with you. What 3 decks would have you brought in to take to that deserted island? That's what I'm here to ponder. Have I spent way too much time thinking about this past hour? Absolutely. Do I think you should think about this? Probably not, but I'm gonna tell you my thoughts. What type of decks would you bring? Now, this brings me to a couple of segues. One is, do you allow trainers as the decks? And 2, do you take into account the weather and the elements? So if you're allowed to use trainers, that's probably a pretty obvious pick for some people because you don't have to worry about them really getting messed up by sand and water if you're on an island. So if you include trainers and factor in the ailments, I would start out with a stack of gliders from Gliders Cardistry. I really have grown to love these over time. They have a nice little clicky-clack sound. Listen to this real quick. Ooh, that's a good sound. These have grown on me a ton. When I first did my original interview with Bill Reed, I didn't actually own any of these, but after getting them later, I can definitely confirm that these are really good, and I think they're the best trainers on the market that I have found. My second choice would probably be the Wine deck from Jose Portals. This is an older acrylic deck, but it's one of the few acrylic decks that has more than just 4 or 5 packets. It actually had 10 packets in it originally, so there'd be a lot more variety. Also, this deck just specifically, it's gotten a lot of nicks and cracks on it over time, which actually has improved the handleability surprisingly because there's more texture to it. And then for my last deck for this category, I would want an actual deck of cards, so I would go with Aladdin's, a nice smooth finished deck that I know is going to last a long time. It's going to do good with humidity. Just an average deck of cards that you can actually use. That isn't just a trainer. You can get 52 cards. I think an Aladdin would be perfect for a desert island. So my second list is, what if you're not allowed to use trainers? What if you don't classify those as decks, which I know a lot of people don't? So the obvious kind of go-to ideas would probably be smooth finished decks or decks that are made for humid environments. So once again, I would have the Aladdins pop up again. I love Aladdins. These are probably my favorite smooth finish decks, so this is an obvious choice. My second favorite smooth finish deck is Aviators, so also a really awesome deck. And since Aviators and Aladdins are both USPCC playing cards, and I would kind of want to spice things up occasionally, I would probably throw in a Superior brand playing cards from Expert Playing Card Company. It'd be a nice thing to switch up every once in a while, to switch up to the Supreme deck. And I feel like it's something that would handle the elements pretty well over time. They feel really thick and substantial, and I don't think these would get ruined very fast. So those would be my choices if weather was a factor and you don't have access to trainers. My last list is the one that I think people would kind of gravitate towards more in general when thinking about this topic, is what 3 decks would I take with me if there was like no concern about them getting ruined by the weather? What 3 decks would I just want to have with me for the rest of my life? So if I could have any 3 decks, how they feel, have it stay the same condition no matter the elements, no matter the weather, what 3 would I pick? Well, for starters, the obvious one for me would be a Squeezers V3. Obviously, I have a pretty big connection to this deck, being in the trailer for it with a really good friend of mine. And it was really one of the solidifying moments for me to keep doing cardistry and keep this show going. But not only that, it definitely has some beach and summer vibes. I really think it would fit the theme of a deserted island, and it's also just like really close to my heart. And I definitely would choose this as my number 1, the one that comes to my mind straight off the gates. The second deck that I would pick would be my favorite card design ever. The simplicity of it I really love, and that's Circleback Tallyhos, and specifically the crushed red Circleback decks. I don't have the crushed and web pressed Circleback Tallyhos, but I do have the fan back versions, and I can confirm the feel is incredible. And I would love to have my favorite card design, which is obviously a Circleback Tallyho. I've said that many times. I love Circleback Tallyhos, so having a crushed web press version of the Circleback Tallyho in red, I would definitely have one of those on a deserted island. And then lastly, I would want a deck once again to kind of spice things up, give a different feel, and for that reason, I would pick Absolute Vodkas, because this is probably one of the most unique feeling decks that I've ever had. Really smooth, really super thin, and I think it would just be a fun little diversion to the other decks that are crushed stock. I don't think there's any deck that quite feels like a vodka deck in my opinion. So this is an obvious choice for me, and I also just think it's like a classic deck that I really enjoy. Once again, there's some summer and beach vibes, being that it's an alcoholic beverage, and I think it would just be a nice little addition. So hopefully you never get stranded on a deserted island, but if you do, let me know what 3 decks you would take with you in the comments below. I would love to hear you guys' opinions on this. I definitely spent more time thinking about it than I thought I would, but it was a really fun and unique topic. And yeah, I think that's it. I don't really know how to end this, so